Hey everyone, welcome to AppleKnows, the place where reality is stranger than fiction. I'm Apple, and today, I'm going to take you on a journey through some of the most mind-bending, unbelievable facts you've probably never heard before. These aren't myths or conspiracy theories, every single one of them is 100% real, proven, and will make you question what you thought you knew about the world. Let's start with something that sounds completely insane. There's a jellyfish that's biologically immortal. Yeah, you heard that right. Turritopsis dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish, can literally revert its cells back to a younger state and start its life cycle again. Scientists have observed it doing this repeatedly, meaning that, theoretically, it could live forever unless eaten or destroyed. Imagine that nature discovered immortality before we did. But let's not stop there. Did you know that there are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way? Astronomers estimate our galaxy has between 100 and 400 billion stars. Sounds huge, right? Yet, according to a NASA-backed study, Earth has around 3 trillion trees. That's nearly 10 times more than the stars we can see. Think about that next time you walk through a forest, you're surrounded by cosmic abundance. And speaking of cosmic, here's one that twists your brain: you are literally made of stardust. Every element in your body heavier than hydrogen was formed in the heart of an exploding star. Iron in your blood, calcium in your bones, gold in your jewelry, all of it was once part of a massive star that died billions of years ago. You, me, and everything around us were ancient cosmic debris, walking, breathing remnants of the universe's violent past. Now let's drop to Earth for a second, where the truth can be even stranger. Bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't. Yeah, it's a botanical classification issue. Bananas grow from a single flower with multiple ovaries, which fits the scientific definition of a berry. Strawberries? They grow from a flower with multiple ovaries, making them something called an aggregate fruit. So technically, your banana smoothie is more berry than your strawberry shortcake. You think time is constant? Nope. Time moves differently depending on where you are. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time runs slower in stronger gravitational fields. This means your feet are actually experiencing time more slowly than your head right now because they're closer to Earth's center of gravity. The difference is tiny, but measurable. In fact, astronauts on the International Space Station age about 0.01 seconds less per year than we do on Earth. You can literally time travel if you move fast enough. And since we're talking about movement, let's talk about something still and silent that can kill you faster than you'd believe: water. If you fell into water from 100 feet high, it would feel like hitting concrete. The reason? Surface tension. Water molecules cling together tightly, so the faster you hit, the harder it feels. Many professional cliff divers survive only because they've mastered the art of slicing into water with perfect precision. One wrong move and it's over in a fraction of a second. But here's one that gives me chills every time: there are entire lakes under Antarctica that have been sealed off from the surface for millions of years. No sunlight. No human contact. And yet, they're full of microbial life. Some of these life forms are completely unknown to science, living in total darkness, feeding off minerals and chemical reactions instead of sunlight. We've barely begun to explore them, and who knows what we might find down there. And as unbelievable as that sounds, consider this: octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. 2 hearts pump blood to the gills, and 1 to the rest of the body. When an octopus swims, the main heart actually stops beating. That's why they prefer crawling, it literally takes less heart. Their blue blood, by the way, comes from copper-based molecules that carry oxygen in cold, low-oxygen environments better than our iron-based blood. Nature didn't just make them smart, it made them alien-level efficient. Speaking of aliens, let me hit you with this: scientists have detected a radio signal coming from deep space that repeats every 16 days. It's called FRB 180916, a fast radio burst from a galaxy 500 million light-years away. No one knows what causes it. Some say magnetars, others whisper about intelligent life. But the fact remains, something out there is pulsing with perfect timing, and it's been doing it for years. And here's a fact that might make you look at yourself differently: your brain sometimes generates false memories so realistic that you can't tell they're fake. It's called the Mandela effect, and it's been proven through countless psychological studies. Your mind fills in details that never existed, edits reality without asking permission, and convinces you it's the truth. So when you swear something happened a certain way, well, maybe it didn't. You think your body belongs to you? Think again. Right now, there are more bacterial cells living inside you than human ones. Your microbiome outnumbers your own DNA, influencing your mood, weight, and even thoughts. Some researchers believe that what we call gut feelings are literal signals from those bacteria, manipulating us for their benefit. You're not just one organism, you're a walking ecosystem. And I'm just getting started. There are facts buried in history, science, and the universe that make reality feel like science fiction. The kind of truths that make you pause, stare, and question everything you thought was normal. Let's start with something that breaks your sense of reality. Right now, as you're listening to me, you're moving through space at over 1.3 million miles per hour. That's not a typo. The Earth spins at about 1,000 miles per hour, orbits the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour, and our solar system moves around the Milky Way at 490,000 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the galaxy itself races through the universe at around 1.3 million miles per hour. And yet, we feel nothing. Everything seems still. You are literally flying through the cosmos on a rock wrapped in air, and you didn't even notice. Now, let's shrink things down to the microscopic. Did you know your stomach gets a new lining every 3 to 4 days? If it didn't, the acid inside it, strong enough to dissolve razor blades, would eat through your organs. That's how powerful gastric acid is. Every few days, your body basically rebuilds part of itself from scratch, just to keep you alive. You're regenerating constantly and probably don't even think about it. But nature doesn't stop there. There's a fungus that can take over the brains of ants and control their movements like a zombie master. It's called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. Once an ant is infected, it climbs up a plant, clamps onto a leaf, and waits. The fungus then bursts out of its head and releases spores to infect the next victim. This isn't science fiction. It's happening in rainforests right now, a real-life mind control parasite straight out of horror movies. And speaking of life on Earth, here's one for your inner explorer. The largest living organism on the planet isn't a whale, a tree, or a coral reef, it's a fungus in Oregon. The Armillaria ostoi fungus, also known as the honey fungus, spans nearly 9 square kilometers underground and is estimated to be thousands of years old. It's a single organism connected through a network of roots, slowly consuming the forest from below. The forest looks alive, but it's actually being devoured by one ancient being. Now let's turn to something you see every day but probably never question: color. You might think colors are just simple properties of light, right? Wrong. Colors don't exist outside your mind. What we see as red or blue are just interpretations by our brains based on how our eyes detect light wavelengths. In reality, color is a mental illusion, your brain's way of decoding electromagnetic information. So in a sense, you're not really seeing the world as it is, you're seeing your brain's translation of it. And if that doesn't bend your mind enough, think about this: every 2 minutes, you take more photos with your phone than all of humanity took during the entire 19th century. The invention of photography changed how we perceive reality, but digital technology exploded it beyond comprehension. You can capture more moments in one afternoon than your great-great-grandparents did in their entire lives. We become addicted to documenting life instead of living it. Speaking of life, here's a creepy one: there's a species of parasite that only reproduces inside cats. But to get there, it uses rats. The parasite, Toxoplasma gondii, infects rats and rewires their brains to make them attracted to cat urine. The rats literally seek out cats, get eaten, and the parasite reaches its goal. Scientists estimate that nearly 1/3 of all humans are infected with Toxoplasma, and studies suggest it can subtly influence human behavior too. You might think you're in control, but nature's invisible forces are constantly pulling your strings. And then there's space, the final frontier, but one we barely understand. In 1977, a scientist recorded a mysterious deep space signal known as the WOW signal. It lasted only 72 seconds and was never heard again. It matched what we'd expect from an artificial source, like an alien transmission, but despite decades of searching, no one has ever found a repeat or explanation. One burst of sound, 48 years ago, still stands as one of the greatest cosmic mysteries in history. And get this, there are diamonds raining on Neptune and Uranus. Deep within those planets, extreme pressure causes carbon atoms to crystallize and fall like literal diamonds from the sky. Imagine standing there, watching gems drop from the heavens. It's not fantasy, it's physics. But even closer to home, reality's still weirder than fiction. In 1518, a real dancing plague broke out in Strasbourg, France. Hundreds of people began dancing uncontrollably in the streets for days, some collapsing and dying from exhaustion. Historical records describe it vividly, and modern scientists still debate what caused it: mass hysteria, poisoned grain, or a neurological reaction. Whatever it was, it remains one of the strangest medical mysteries ever recorded. And now, let's twist perception one more time. You never actually touch anything. When you touch an object, the electrons in your skin repel the electrons in the object, meaning there's always a microscopic gap between you and whatever you think you're touching. The sense of touch is just electrical signals in your brain interpreting that repulsion as contact. So, in reality, you've never truly touched another person, a wall, or even your phone. You're just feeling the force field. You see what I mean? The world isn't what it seems. Reality is layered, strange, and often more shocking than any fiction we could write. I promise you, what you're about to hear next might just change the way you see reality forever. Let's start with your body, because it's far more bizarre than you think. Your bones are actually stronger than steel. Gram for gram, bone can withstand more pressure than the same amount of steel, around 30,000 pounds per square inch. Yet, your skeleton constantly breaks itself down and rebuilds every decade. You're walking around in a body that's technically less than 10 years old. The atoms that make you up right now weren't even part of you when you were a child. You're not the same person, literally. And while we're talking about bodies, get this, there's a person alive right now who has different DNA in different parts of their body. It's called genetic mosaicism. In some rare cases, people can have two different sets of DNA, meaning if you took a DNA test from their skin and another from their blood, it would seem like they're two separate individuals. It's not science fiction, it's proven reality. There are humans who are, in a sense, their own twins. Now here's one that makes every hair on my surface stand up: a single human body emits enough heat in 1 hour to boil almost half a liter of water. That's how much energy we're constantly giving off, just existing. If you could harness all that thermal energy, one person could theoretically power a small LED light indefinitely. You're a walking generator, radiating power every second, and you probably never realized it. But let's step back in time, way back. 65 million years ago, an asteroid ended the age of dinosaurs. But here's what's almost impossible to believe: that single impact created temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. When the asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula, it vaporized rock, sent molten debris into space, and set the entire planet on fire. Global temperatures skyrocketed, blocking sunlight for years. Yet somehow, life crawled back. Mammals evolved, and one day, us. You are here because your ancestors survived literal hell on Earth. And speaking of surviving, did you know there's an animal that can survive in space without oxygen, without water, and even without radiation? The tardigrade. Also called the water bear, it's less than a millimeter long but can live through conditions that would kill anything else. Scientists have frozen them, boiled them, exposed them to open space, and they just keep coming back. They've been found alive after more than 30 years of being completely dried out. If Earth ever dies, tardigrades might be the last creatures standing. Here's one for the deep ocean lovers: there are lakes and rivers under the ocean. Yes, under it. At the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, brine pools exist where supersalty water forms dense layers that don't mix with the seawater above. These underwater lakes have shorelines, waves, and even currents, but if any creature accidentally swims into them, it dies instantly because the salt levels are toxic. Picture that, an ocean beneath an ocean, calm, deadly, and hidden from human eyes. And now, let's go inside your brain. Every thought you've ever had, every memory, every dream, it all runs on electricity. Tiny bursts of electrical impulses jumping across neurons at up to 250 miles per hour. But here's the strange part, your brain produces about 20 watts of power, enough to power a dim light bulb. You're literally glowing with energy right now, a living, thinking battery. And when you dream, your brain is even more active than when you're awake. Speaking of dreams, scientists discovered that when you recall a memory, your brain doesn't just open it, it rewrites it. Every time you remember something, you're slightly altering it. So the memories you hold closest might not even be the way things really happened. Your mind edits your past in real time. Think about that, the story of your life isn't fixed. It's being rewritten every time you remember it. Here's something even stranger, there are entire languages on Earth that have no words for left or right. Instead, they use directions like north, south, east, and west for everything. In these cultures, people always know exactly where they are even in total darkness. Studies show their sense of orientation is so strong, they can point to true north without instruments. Their brains are wired differently because their language shapes how they think about space. And it's not just language, reality itself can be bent by perception. In quantum physics, particles can exist in multiple states at once until they're observed. It's called superposition. That means, at the smallest scale, reality literally depends on whether or not it's being watched. In other words, the universe might behave differently when you're not looking at it. Observation defines existence. But let's climb back to a more human scale, because even our planet hides truths that sound like fantasy. There's a massive ocean trapped deep inside the Earth's mantle, about 400 miles down. It's not a surface ocean, it's locked inside a mineral called ringwoodite. Scientists estimate it could contain 3 times more water than all the oceans on the surface combined. It's the hidden heart of the planet, and we only discovered it recently. And if that doesn't twist your sense of scale, consider this, the largest volcano in the solar system isn't on Earth, it's on Mars. Olympus Mons stands about 13.6 miles high, almost 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and covers an area roughly the size of France. It's so wide that if you stood on one side, the curvature of Mars itself would hide the summit from view. It's a mountain so vast that your eyes can't even comprehend it from the ground. The universe is full of extremes, contradictions, and impossible truths, and we've barely scratched the surface. Every discovery we make opens 1,000 new mysteries. We've crossed the edges of space, dived beneath the oceans, and looked inside the mind, but trust me, the next truths will make everything you've heard so far feel like a warm-up. Let's begin with something invisible but constant, time. You think you live in the present, right? Technically, you don't. The time it takes for light to reach your eyes means you're always seeing the past. Even when you look at yourself in a mirror, you're seeing a version of you that existed nanoseconds ago. When you look at the moon, you're seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you're seeing light that left it over 8 minutes ago. Everything you perceive, every color, every face, every sunrise, is already history. Now imagine sound. There's a place on Earth where you can hear your own heartbeat, your blood moving, and even your bones shifting. It's an anechoic chamber, the quietest room ever built. Inside it, sound doesn't bounce back, and silence becomes deafening. Most people can't last longer than 30 minutes before they start hallucinating. In perfect silence, your brain begins creating its own noise to fill the void. So yes, the sound of nothing can actually drive you insane. Here's one that will completely warp your sense of self: you are never truly you for long. Every second, about 50 million cells in your body die and are replaced. In fact, the atoms that make up your body right now weren't even part of you a year ago. You're a living river of matter, constantly flowing, constantly renewing. The body you're sitting in is more of a process than a thing. And if that's not strange enough, let's talk about your sense of reality. Your brain doesn't actually experience the outside world directly. It only interprets electrical signals sent from your senses, light, sound, touch, taste, smell, and then creates a model of reality inside your head. You don't live in the world itself, you live inside your brain's simulation of it. Everything you see and feel is, technically, a neural illusion that happens in complete darkness inside your skull. And speaking of illusions, your brain edits out most of reality. Every time you blink, you go blind for a fraction of a second, but your brain fills in the gap so you never notice. The same happens with the blind spot in each of your eyes. You literally can't see part of what's in front of you, yet your mind paints in the missing details. You're walking around inside a hallucination so seamless that you believe it's real. Now, let's look at something vast, the scale of existence itself. You've got about 37 trillion cells in your body. Each one is like a microscopic city, with thousands of molecular machines working together. But here's the twist, your body also contains more non-human cells, bacteria, fungi, and viruses, than human ones. You're not a single organism, you're an ecosystem. A biological metropolis ruled by countless microscopic tenants that help you digest, think, and even feel emotions. And while we're on emotion, let's talk about something that connects us all, the human heart. Your heartbeat isn't random. When you listen to music, watch a movie, or even talk to someone you love, your heartbeat can sync with theirs. Scientists call it physiological resonance. In deep conversation, your breathing, pulse, and even brainwave patterns can begin to match another person's. You literally start vibrating in rhythm with their existence. It's not poetry, it's biology. But emotion isn't limited to humans. Plants can hear. Research shows that plants react to vibrations, they can respond to the sound of running water, even when it's hidden underground. They can also communicate through chemical signals. When one plant is attacked by insects, it releases chemicals that warn nearby plants to activate their defenses. It's like a silent forest network, the original Internet of Nature. And here's something that sounds completely impossible but is true, there are clouds in space that contain enough alcohol to make 400 trillion pints of beer. It's an interstellar cloud called Sagittarius B2, and it's filled with ethyl alcohol, the same kind that's in your favorite drink. So somewhere in the galaxy, there's a cosmic bar waiting for no one to arrive. But don't drink just yet, because time itself might be an illusion. Physicists studying quantum mechanics and relativity have proposed that past, present, and future all coexist simultaneously. Time might not flow, we only perceive it as moving forward because our brains can't process all moments at once. According to some interpretations, your birth, this moment, and your death all exist right now, woven into the same cosmic fabric. You're not moving through time, time is stationary, and you're the one who moves through awareness. Let's come back to Earth, but not the Earth you think you know. The Sahara Desert, one of the hottest places on Earth, used to be a lush green paradise full of lakes and forests. It only became a desert about 5,000 years ago, due to a slight change in Earth's orbit. In geological time, that's practically yesterday. Imagine camels walking across what used to be the floor of an ancient ocean. And since we're talking about transformations, here's a fact that defies logic: Mount Everest isn't the tallest mountain on Earth if you measure from base to peak. That title goes to Mauna Kea in Hawaii, which rises more than 33,000 feet from its underwater base. So the world's tallest mountain is technically hidden beneath the waves. And here's a quiet horror: in 1962, a coal mine fire started beneath the town of Centralia, Pennsylvania, and it's still burning today. The fire spread through underground coal seams, and scientists estimate it could continue for another 250 years. The ground itself smokes in shifts, swallowing streets and buildings. A ghost town above a fire that will outlive every person alive today. The truth is, reality isn't solid, safe, or simple. It's unstable, mind-bending, and filled with wonders that stretch the imagination. The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. And that is where we pause. You've just traveled through the unbelievable, the proven, and the beautifully bizarre, every fact real, every wonder hiding in plain sight. I'm Apple from AppleKnows, and if you've stayed with me till now, then you've seen it too, that thin line between ordinary and impossible, between the world we think we know and the one that quietly exists beneath it. Because the truth is, reality doesn't need special effects. It doesn't need fantasy. It's already full of miracles: stars made of diamond, forests that talk, creatures that don't die, and minds that rewrite their own pasts. So the next time you look at an apple, a cloud, or your own reflection, remember, you're not just seeing something simple. You're seeing a story billions of years in the making, a fragment of stardust that learned to think, to wonder, and to search. Keep questioning. Keep looking deeper. Because the universe is still whispering its secrets, and AppleKnows will always be listening. Until next time, stay curious.